Welcome back, everybody, to Soul of the SKOL. Me and Matt are here today. We're going to talk about a couple of things. Just starting off, I think the number one thing that we as Vikings fans need to address is the tragic passing of rookie cornerback, Khyree Jackson. He was 24 years old. He was driving in Maryland, and his car got pushed off of the road, him along with two of his friends who are currently playing college football. I believe they were also NFL prospects. And I don't know, Matt. What do you have to say?
There's not much to say. Obviously, an opportunity for three gentlemen to play professionally was taken from them. Khyree Jackson was looking to start here in Minnesota, a fresh start nonetheless, and it's just another reminder that life is just precious. Can't take it for granted. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. And there's not really much to say. It's just very tragic.
Yeah. So I think the thing for me right now is, Matt, they were, not too much older than us, right?
That's
and at our age, you think that you're invincible, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were reports that there was alcohol involved in the accident, and it hasn't been released what role alcohol's played yet. But obviously, drunk driving is a huge thing, huge problem, I should say. Not a huge thing, but I mean, there's Uber now, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's Uber, there's Lyft. Call a sober cab. There's situations like this, and there's ways to get around it. It sounds like Khyree was not the driver of the car that he was in. He was in the front seat, though. And like we said, we have no idea what role alcohol played. It sounds like, and this is completely unofficial, so don't quote me on this, but what I had heard on other podcasts and on articles and whatnot is that there were three vehicles. All of the people in the three vehicles were at a party prior to this and had left the party together. Jackson's vehicle was in the front, and there was a vehicle behind them and a vehicle behind that. The back vehicle tried to pass both of them. Maybe they were racing. I don't really know. Struck Jackson's car, veered them off the road. They hit a bunch of trees. Jackson and the driver were pronounced dead on the scene, and the player that was in the back seat was airlifted to a hospital and later pronounced dead there. So obviously just tragic. And this brings Vikings fans specifically back to Jeff Gladney a couple of years ago, who also had the tragic accident where he passed. But yeah, leaves you at a loss for words, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Just like to piggyback off what you said, you feel you're invincible, and you do. You're young and you do dumb things. Nonetheless, lives were lost, and that's really the most important part here. Life is precious. Can't take a day for granted.
Yeah. I don't want to dwell on this too much because, of course, it's sad. A lot of time has passed since then, maybe about a week now. And I think, people have started to talk about Vikings football again, right? And kind of, we realize now that all these guys, the 90 or whatever that they have on the preseason roster, are now going to have to go back into training camp in a couple of weeks, and Jackson's gone. Their coworker, their friend, their brother, right? He's just not there anymore. How does a young man, 23, 27, 30 even, just come into this and now you got to go back to work? You know what I mean?
I wish I had an answer for you.
Right. I don't know if anyone has the answer. And I think Coach O'Connell and I think Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah are going to have a really tough time trying to rein this back in because we still got a season to play.
Mm-hmm.
And there's fans with high hopes, right? I mean, obviously, we may be one of the more pessimistic podcasts out there about the Vikings' future.
We are delusional, very
Slightly,
very much.
but at the same time, there are people that are, depending on they depend on the Vikings, right? And so now they got to come back from this. They got to bounce back and come back to work, which is, it sounds horrible to say this, but they almost have to forget that it happened, right? I mean,
I wouldn't go that far. You play for him. He's always in the back of your mind. You play as if you play because, it was an opportunity that he would have wanted. And, the opportunity to get into the NFL is such a rare opportunity. You play for the guy next to you. It is difficult, but you get back to work, you play for your brother, and you try to achieve the goals for him. Is he still going to be a part of this team, even though he's not physically there?
Yeah, very well said. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit. Let's touch on this a little bit. The new show that's out, Receiver, featuring Justin Jefferson, followed his last season. I think it also follows Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel. Am I missing anyone?
I watched the first half of the first episode. Justin Jefferson nor Devontae Adams had yet to have been mentioned. There are probably some people out there who have already finished watching the show. Congrats. You're cool. But it's just kind of, so far through the first episode, it's just gone through Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, touched on their playoff success and failures, failing to reach the pinnacle. And it's talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown, how his dad was a two-time Mr. Universe in bodybuilding, and how that work ethic has played into how he approaches the game. He can recite every receiver that was drafted before him. He does that in the show. He recites that. And, they just talk about how the game works. Brock Purdy talks about his teammates a little bit. And I almost fell asleep, not because it was boring. I was just really tired. I was at a baseball game for 12 hours yesterday. Doubleheader. That was also a rain out in between, so I was tired. I'll finish watching the other half of the episode after this, but, so far so good. Randy Moss comes in and takes it over from Peyton Manning because Peyton Manning was the executive producer. I don't know if Randy Moss was added as a producer or not, but it was cool to have Randy in there hyping up all the receivers. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good show, just like how quarterback was.
So I just want to touch on Amon-Ra St. Brown really quick. I believe there were 14 receivers taken ahead of him, and that's the reason he wears 14. Right?
That sounds plausible.
I thought,
to be honest,
I'm going to have to look this up now because I might just be blowing smoke.
But hearing some of the names that went before him do make you laugh.
Like who?
Dwayne Eskridge was drafted before Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amari Rodgers was drafted before him. Josh Palmer was drafted before him. Josh Palmer's a sufficeable receiver, but at the same time, he's no Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right. So it looks like it was actually 16. I'm mistaken slightly.
But the first receiver he says is Jamar Chase. It's like,
yeah.
well, what did you
Chase,
expect?
Jalen Waddle, Elijah Moore, Amari Rodgers.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I can't believe some of these receivers got taken before him. That's pretty unfortunate for those.
He didn't stand out all too much at USC, but at the same time.
And to be entirely transparent, I feel like when you watch him play, just looking at how he moves without the ball, he doesn't really stand out either. He's not an incredible route runner. He doesn't have, Tyreek Hill speed. Mm-hmm. He has pretty good hands, but that's pretty much expected for NFL wide receiver ones, right? I mean, you watch him play before he gets the ball, and he looks like a pretty average wide receiver one. It's the second that he gets the ball that he turns electric. That's the difference between him and other wide receiver ones, because he's not a possession wide receiver one. right? He's very much a rack receiver. And I don't know. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he put up, 1,400 yards last year or something like that.
Two straight back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
His rookie season, he went for 1,100, I believe. I mean, he's a legit wide receiver one. He's a really good wide receiver one, I think. And I think watching him play doesn't justify it until he gets the ball.
It also helps, you have your dad who had a strong work ethic, passed it down to you. You have brothers, and obviously brothers are going to compete because they want to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
And that growing up, and having other guys, being able to recite receivers that were drafted before you added motivation, just saying you got to this position, there's these guys that they thought they were better than you. Now I'm going to go prove them wrong.
Yeah. All right. So Matt and I have decided that for this episode, we're going to do another ranking because this is the part of the season that feels like it takes forever because it's so boring and nothing's happening. I guess the one thing that has happened recently, Jamal Adams got signed by the Titans today on like a 1-year, $3 million deal or some tiny like that.
Yeah.
He's not making a lot of money. He'll
probably
a little bit, but the Titans really need secondary help. And I mean, he's more of a linebacker that can run fast, but decent pickup for them.
Yeah. I mean, if it was 2018, I'd be shaking in my boots. But besides that, I'm just going to look up some other free agents because I noticed Hunter Renfrow is still a free agent.
So is Michael Thomas, and another podcast, Purple Daily, was talking about those two possibly being wide receiver 3 options for the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
But what Matt and I have decided to do today is we're going to rank Viking position groups by strength. So I have mine written down, Matt. I don't know if you had yours written down or not.
I did not know.
Just kind of going to go on the fly.
Right off the top of the dome.
Perfect. I like it.
That can only go one way. Stephon Gilmore's still a free agent.
And he could get transitioned to safety as well if the Titans really needed safety help. Because I feel like as a corner, once you get that old, you're getting transitioned either to safety or you're going to be a free agent. Kind of just how it tends to go.
Yeah, not too many big name free agents left. Also,
there
just
are
quality depth guys.
Yeah, not a ton left, but Vikings, I'm sure, will sign one person at least. All right. So starting off, so I have 10 position groups on here, right? Quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver, O-line, D-line, linebacker, safety, corner. I think that's 10, right? Oh, offensive tackle and interior offensive line were separated because there's quite a bit of a drop-off there. So my number one position group for the Minnesota Vikings is their safety group. All right. I feel like this is a no-brainer. Okay. You got Harrison Smith and Cameron Bynum starting at your free safety and your strong safety, right? And then you add Josh Metellus into the mix as a nickelback, right? We played last year with 3 safeties on the field almost the whole season, almost every game, almost every down, right? Josh Metellus I think he led the league in defensive snaps, right? He was up there. He had over 1,000 snaps. And Metellus was not the starter at free or strong safety. So, I mean, he's now a captain. I think he's one of our defensive captains. He's a stud, to be completely honest. Last year, he had 78 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and an interception. I mean, I think the numbers speak for themselves with him, right? I don't know. So Metellus, Bynum, Smith, and And the backups, I believe Jay Ward is another guy that's emerging as a potential playmaker once Harrison Smith departs. Theo Jackson. We're gonna ignore Lewis Cine.
As we already know, he's so good.
Big bust Lewis Cine.
Yeah, whatever.
And then we have a second nickelback listed on the team, and it is cornerback AJ Green III. I didn't even know this guy was on the team, to be completely honest. But yeah.
Let's see, yeah.
So safety is first. Matt, do you want to alternate, or do you want me to go through my top 10 and then you go after?
I'll just say you go through your top 10. I'll just say if I agree with you or not, to be honest.
Perfect.
I agree with you on safeties.
Number 2 might be a little bit controversial, okay? I said number 2 position group is going to be linebackers, okay? Middle linebackers, outside linebackers. So that means edges, So
when I shook my head, I meant to say
Jonathan Grenard, Ivan Pace, Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner. I think that's we did lose Daniil Hunter, obviously. Ivan Pace stood out as probably the best undrafted free agent in the NFL last year. I shouldn't say probably, definitely.
Was, yep.
Easily. Not even close. He started the whole season, right? Blake Cashman was a pretty good player in Houston. And I would almost compare him to Fred Warner in the sense that you can use him for multiple things. He's good at stuffing the run. He's good at blocking pass lanes. He's good at blitzing the passer. He is pretty much a utility player, in my opinion. And he's going to be used like that a lot. He'll line up in a lot of different places.
Yeah, the Walmart version. We'll take it.
Yeah, the Walmart version of Fred Warner. Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Grenard. I couldn't think of his name for a second. Jonathan Grenard. Another great player from the Texans. I think he had a good amount of sacks last year. 12 and a half sacks last year, right? Jonathan Grenard, another really good player. And I think instead of replacing Daniil with a player, we replaced him with multiple.
Yes.
So we picked up Grenard, who had 12 and a half sacks. We picked up Van Ginkel, who had 6 sacks, an interception, touchdown, 69 total tackles. He had a pick 6. And then, of course, we drafted Dallas Turner, who was arguably the best defensive player in this draft.
Absolutely. There's no controversy here, out of me at least. I totally agree. Looking at the unit, at least, the first 2 units you rank, that's clearly the strength of this team. There's really no debate in that regard. When you look at the defense, who needs to make plays? It's linebackers, it's the corners. We just got to get better in those positions. We just got to, I guess D-line's going to have to step up a little bit. But at the end of the day, that's what we bank on. That's what Brian Flores loves.
Brian Flores loves to have a bunch of utility guys, which Van Ginkel has been a utility guy. That's who he was with Miami, right? He lined up at middle linebacker. He lined up at edge. He lined up in the slot. He's lined up all over the place, right? I think Dallas Turner has the potential to be a guy you can line up in a bunch of places. He's a lot more stocky than Daniil was. I think Daniil was maybe 6'5", 6'4", if I'm not mistaken. Dallas
shredded though.
Is 6'2", 6'3", but he's 6'3" and 250 pounds.
He was shredded though for 250.
Yeah, the big guy, right? And he's not a stout guy, but he's definitely thicker than Daniil. So he has the potential to be moved around quite a bit. I think he'll blitz off of both edges. I think Grenard is going to blitz off of both edges. I think Pace is going to be blitzing quite a bit.
Those exotic blitz schemes are going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have lots of blitzes. We're going to have, I think the only position that won't blitz on this team is corners.
Yes.
It's the only position that won't. I think.
And it's strictly because
he had
we
3
need
sacks last year. I think Cam Bynum is going to be blitzing. I think Metellus is going to be blitzing a lot. I think we're going to see a lot more pass rush, even this year, than we did last year.
unless some corners can prove they can defend on an island by themselves. Maybe some corner blitzes, but I would be way against it just because they're not a proven unit
So far, yeah.
to this point. Exactly.
All right, position number 3, offensive tackle. We have at the left tackle Christian Darrisaw, who is arguably the number 1 or 2 offensive tackle in the NFL. We have Brian O'Neill at the right tackle, who is also probably a top 30 tackle. So we have 2 top 30 tackles on the team that are obviously our starters. And seriously, like they did really well last year. Our offensive line was the best it's been in years last year. Also, backups, David Quessenberry. He hasn't played yet, but he's a serviceable backup. He's a serviceable backup the way I would say Ty Chandler, running back, is a serviceable backup. I would definitely say the same for Quessenberry, right? I think that our tackles, if they stay healthy, are going to be one of the most elite units in the NFL.
You have a big emphasis on staying healthy because it comes down to what you just said, Darrisaw and O'Neill. Quessenberry, as you said, is serviceable, but I don't want to bank.
He's not a starter.
I don't want to bank on if Darrisaw has injury issues,
right?
With most of the season having Quessenberry out there.
Well, and I think O'Neill tore his Achilles last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Would be our luck.
He was injured for a good portion of the year, but yeah. So, number 3, offensive tackles. Number 4. Now we see the wide receivers show up. I think you may have been expecting wide receiver to be higher. The reason I have it at 4, we don't have a wide receiver 3 yet. We're trying to look internally. It's not happening. Okay, Brandon Powell, he did okay last year, but just okay. He didn't do anything outstanding. Trent Sherfield, he has less than 1,000 yards in 6 seasons. Let's see. Jalen Naylor, been trying to get him on the field, can't stay healthy. Lucky Jackson played in 3 games last year, didn't record a target. Then we got Tristan Jackson, Thayer Thomas, Malik Knowles, Ty James, Jashawn Jones.
Yeah, if you're looking internally at wide receiver 3, it really comes down to Naylor, Sherfield, and Powell. And it's really a 3-man system that's would have to operate. It's a carousel for wide receiver 3. I don't think it'll be just one guy to get immense production. Mm-hmm. That's really where, at the end of the day, you got to look tight end as well. Make sure Hawkinson gets back healthy to help fill the void of not having that wide receiver 3.
And at the same time, there have been a lot of reports that Lucky Jackson and Thayer Thomas are standing out from the rest of the backup receivers and could possibly make the roster. But I think that's the issue, is we don't even know who's going to make the roster, right? We have 2 studs, 2 absolute studs, right? Jefferson and Addison. Addison almost had 1,000 yards last year as a rookie, right? 911 yards,
different quarterbacks.
911 yards, 10 touchdowns. That's insane for a rookie wide receiver 2. Jefferson had 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns.
In almost half a season.
Also only played how many games? Not many.
10, 11, maybe 11.
10 games. Played 10 games, had 100 targets, 68 receptions, 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Efficient.
Very efficient. But at the same time, you can't just depend on 2 guys. You need to have that third option. Hawkinson's not healthy right now. Right now, we're resorting to Robert Tonyan, or
at least a tight end. It's for your multitude of running backs with Chandler, and you just got Aaron Jones, very well known for being a pass catcher, who can help out in that department.
But it would be absolutely wonderful to have a great wide receiver 3, like a Renfro or a Thomas, someone.
No, sometimes in life we don't get what we want, so we always have to have a backup plan.
Exactly right. Injuries happen, as we saw last year, with Jefferson being out for 8 games.
Kirk Cousins tearing his Achilles. Hawkins had tearing his Achilles in the late playoff push.
Yeah, it was a brutal
ACL,
sequence.
not a Achilles.
Yeah. All right. Position number 5, said running backs. Okay. Aaron Jones, of course, the new starting running back. He's a stud. He was ranked in the
Absolutely.
top, I think, 12 running backs this last year.
And he's stayed healthy relatively, which has also been an issue for him during his time in Green Bay.
Yeah, and so he's had one season where he didn't miss any games. One. And that season, he had 1,100 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing.
Do you have receiving stats by any chance
Yes.
from that season?
Same season, he had 59 receptions for 395 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he had 2 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving touchdowns.
You're also trying to get the ball to Devontae Adams as well, and Allen Lazard was not terrible during that time as well.
Yeah. He has not had a season with less than 233 receiving yards since 2019. 233, I say, because that was his last season, but he also only played 11 games. He's got 3,000-yard rushing seasons. He's got 4 seasons where he had at least 350 receiving yards. And actually, in 2019, he had 16 rushing touchdowns, which is ridiculous.
Absurd.
That same year, he had 3 receiving touchdowns. He was probably one of the top-rated running backs that year, I would hope.
Potential offensive player of the year candidate with those numbers.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Jones he's a stud. He's going to be a good running back for us. He's only 29 years old, which it's getting up there for running backs. But at the same time, he's probably still got a good 5 years in him. I mean, AP played until he was, 37, 38?
Yeah.
AP played forever. But yeah, Aaron Jones, going to be a great running back. Ty Chandler, the backup, right? Hasn't really gotten his chance yet. A little bit last season.
But when he's had the chance, he's shown out.
When he had the chance last year, he averaged 4.5 yards a carry.
I'm thinking about the 100-yard games he had.
Let's see. Did he have a 100-yard game last year?
He had to have at some point.
He had 102 carries for 461 yards and 3 touchdowns. Let's see if we can find a game log, huh? Yes, against the Bengals, he had 23 carries for 132 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Those are some studly numbers.
Yeah.
And those are some really good numbers. For a backup running back? You kidding me?
Of course, he started a few games as well.
73 yards. That was against Denver on 10 carries. So he had 7.3 yards per carry. He's had quite a few long runs. He had a 31 in that game and a 30 in the Bengals game. He doesn't get a lot of receptions.
That is an issue.
When he does get receptions, he averages 10 yards per reception, 8 yards per reception, 9.3 yards per reception, 12 yards per reception. Now, this is on 2 or 3 receptions, mind you.
And mostly with screen passes.
But when he gets the ball in his hands, he makes something happen. Yes, he does. If you have a running back that's averaging 4.5 yards per carry, that's a stud of a backup. It is.
Every 3 plays, first down. You're moving the ball efficiently.
Exactly. After Ty Chandler, we have
Kene
Nwangwu, Myles Gaskin, Cam Akers is being re-signed, I believe, in the process of it at least.
Nice to see if
I don't know if Kene makes the roster this year.
He could. He might not. It would be nice on kick return.
He could. I don't know, though.
But I don't know if that's worth a roster spot.
Exactly. Because there's other players that can return kicks. I believe Gaskin's been a kick returner in his past.
And you still have Sherfield. You have Brandon Powell.
Let's see. Maybe he wasn't the return man. Powell has been a punt returner. Ty Chandler can return kicks. Could get, I don't know. Can Najee Thompson return?
He can do it all.
That's what I'm saying. If you need a guy to return, you'll find a guy to return.
Especially with these new kickoff rules, we'll see how impactful the return game is this year.
And I think Khyree is going to have to show out in preseason as a return man. Otherwise, I think he loses himself the roster spot. Plus, he needs to stay healthy, which he has not done in the preseason in the past. So, and then Myles Gaskin, of course, and Cam Akers. So
that's a solid group.
It is. It's not the best group on the team, but it's solid. Like you said, there's no studs. There's no star there. Aaron Jones isn't going to be a bell cow running back. He's going to be a good starting running back. I think he'll be probably top 15 in the league in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, is my guess.
We got to get a run game going. That didn't happen last year.
It was non-existent last year, and so I think the signing of Aaron Jones is really going to help that. All right, moving on. Position number 6 is tight end. TJ Hawkinson, Josh Oliver, Robert Tonyan, Johnny Munt, N'Keal Harry.
We said N'Keal Harry with a straight face. That's diabolical.
I know.
Maybe switching to tight end is what he needs.
Yeah.
Hey, remember when we said we were optimistic? This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I said pessimistic.
I'm optimistic.
Okay. We'll see if N'Keal Harry makes the roster. If he makes the roster, I will be genuinely impressed. But yeah, that's a pretty good group, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of good blockers, a lot of good pass catchers. Johnny Munt, the best tight end 3 in National Football League.
No debate there.
I love that dude. Now he's the tight end 4. Did I say wide receiver 3? I meant tight end 3.
You said tight end.
No. Let's see. Yeah, Munt spent 4 years with the Rams before coming over here. Has played in 17 games. Both seasons he's been here. 19 receptions his first season for 140 yards and a touchdown. Second season, 17 catches, 172 yards and a touchdown.
He's good for a good 18-yard reception once a game.
Well, he's had 17 first downs.
Yeah, on those crazy bootlegs where he just leaks out into the flat.
Exactly.
Just wide open.
He also, to his career, has 9 tackles and a forced fumble.
Who is his quarterback then? Most likely Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Showing out.
But yeah, Johnny Munt.
Get him.
How can you not love the guy?
Him and Najee Thompson as gunners potentially next season. Man, go crazy.
I don't know if Johnny Munt's going to be fast enough to get down the field, but sure. Try him out. Why not?
Try something out.
I bet he's on kickoff. Yeah, we'll see. So, position number 7 out of 10, cornerback.
Too high.
Too high, you think?
No.
I think there's a lot of question marks there, especially now with the tragic passing of Khyree Jackson. I think Byron Murphy and Shaquille Griffin as the starters. Byron Murphy was good. He got hurt. That forced Mekhi Blackman to start, right? Mekhi Blackman did a pretty good job for a rookie. For a third-round pick, nonetheless, right? Third round pick.
Yeah, it was a day 2 pick.
Yeah. He had 41 tackles and a pick and fumble recovery. Yeah, I don't know. Shaquille Griffin is 28 years old.
Serviceable.
He's been with the Seahawks for 4 years. Jacksonville 2 years, Houston for a year, Carolina for a year. I mean, the last 2 years of his career, he's only played in 13 games. He's only totaled 39 tackles and 1 interception. He's fallen off the rails, and he's supposed to be a starter for us this year. I don't know.
Would you rather have him starter Booth?
Booth, Evans, Thompson, Williams, and Dwight McGlothern are also listed as corners on the team.
Jalen Williams might step up this year. Who knows?
He could. I could definitely see that. Was he in this is his first season or his second season? This is
second. I remember hearing his name last year. He might have been a undrafted free agent.
He must have been. He played both Detroit games and the Green Bay game and had 1 tackle in the last week of the season against Detroit on January 7th. But like I said, there's just a lot of question marks regarding corners right now. We just don't know, right? And now with the passing of Khyree Jackson, that's another player who was making a name for himself in training camp that is not going to be here to play. I think that group is especially going to struggle because of that mentally. I think it's going to be really hard on them, especially on Mekhi Blackman, who seemed to be, those two seem to be really close, real good friends. I think it's going to be hard this year. But I think the most likely player to step up is going to be Blackman.
He has to. He's going to be
Caleb Evans has proved that he's not a starter. Andrew Booth has proved he's not a starter. I know that you don't want to hear that, Clemson guy.
I'm in agreement with you.
Well, yeah.
I feel like
I think you were hoping for something else, though.
What I'm hoping is his next team, he shows out. He plays better, given a fresh start. Looking at other free agents, I mean, J.C. Jackson's a free agent. He had a good tenure with the Patriots, fell off with the Chargers. I don't know if that speaks to his how he mentally prepares for the game. Eli Apple, burnt toast. I mean, if you really wanted some depth guys, you don't know.
I don't think we need depth that bad.
But if you're looking at guys who need to play, if you're not trying to go from internally, trying to figure out that spot.
Externally, I suppose those two could be good options. But I think that the Vikings are definitely kind of going to try to look internally for corner.
If you want to stay in-house, yeah, then you need to.
Because there are guys internally that will step up. I think it's without a doubt that Mekhi Blackman will be a starter at some point. I think we signed Shaquille Griffin to what, a 1-year deal, right?
Sounds right.
After his departure this year, I think Mekhi Blackman takes his spot.
Who's to say Mekhi Blackman doesn't start week 1 after the preseason?
Who is to say, right? He could start week 1 or be in a rotation. I think he'll at least be in a rotation. I don't know. All right. Position number 8, interior offensive line. Guards, center. We got the dumpster fire of Ed Ingram. At the left guard, we have Dalton Reisner, who has, shown up as a serviceable guard. And the center, Garrett Bradbury, who is also a serviceable center. Ed Ingram needs to be fixed. He led the team 2 years consecutively in sacks allowed as a guard.
He needs to hold more.
I'd almost rather he does. Seriously.
Save the quarterback from getting hit.
Yes. See, I mean, I think that ultimately, and he forced the fumble on Kirk last year. He stepped on Kirk's foot the year before. Joel even made a prediction that Ed Ingram would do something to Kirk at some point in the season, right? And I think he got it because he forced a fumble.
He forced a fumble.
Like, are you serious, man? He's got to go.
He needs the opportunity to redeem himself with this O-line crew. Show that he can be coached.
So many. opportunities, right? I feel like he needs to like step up. Like he's been a starter for 2 years now.
He doesn't need to. He has to. There's no other option.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has to step up. And if he doesn't step up, he's gone after this year. He has to be. Right? Looking at, depth for that position, there's not a ton. There's Blake Brandel, Dan Feeney, Tyrese Robinson, Henry Bird, Michael Juergens, and Doug Nestor. I see Michael Juergens as a player who could potentially step up. He's a rookie this year. But other than him, I mean, I think Feeney played a little bit last year, Blake Brandel, but Ingram's got to step up. He's got to figure it out. And now, Darnold is more mobile than Kirk. As, a turtle is more mobile than a tree, right? So he should be able to avoid more sacks. But regardless, Ed Ingram brings this group down so far.
No.
All right, position number 9. There's 2 positions that I haven't talked about yet. Number 9 is quarterback.
I knew you would go there.
Yep. Our quarterbacks, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, unproven is the best way to.
All of them are unproven. All of them.
I wouldn't go that far with Darnold.
I would. Darnold hasn't. I mean, granted, he's been in awful situations everywhere he's been, other than San Fran, where he was a backup. But I mean, I think with the Jets, he was sacked like 50 times in 1 year or something insane like that. I don't remember. Yeah. In 3 seasons, he was sacked over 100 times.
Those numbers will still tick up with this whole line here in Minnesota.
Not with the tackles he's got. His first year with Carolina, he was sacked 35 times in 12 games. That's 3 times a game. A game. That's bad.
No.
And then with San Fran, he comes in and he only gets sacked 6 times in 10 games. In 10 games, only got sacked 6 times. I mean,
served in garbage time, he's probably handing the ball off too.
Well,
a little context, but at the same time, I get what you're saying.
But at the same time, he's obviously being protected better. Thanks to St. John's alumni.
Ben Barch.
Ben Barch, thank you.
Don't even know your own alumni. What a real fan.
Yeah. I'm a big Ben Barch fan.
Well, meanwhile, I go to a school that doesn't even have a football program.
We just sent one player to the Seahawks minicamp, but he didn't make the team.
That was Van Erp, right?
Alex
Larson.
The 6'8" wide receiver. Yeah. So, after Darnold is J.J. McCarthy, who is a rookie and obviously unproven, right? McCarthy is keyed in to be the starter next year when Darnold is gone, but needs to jump through a lot of hoops that O'Connell has prepared for him, right? After him, it's Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall.
And one of those 2 won't be on the roster.
Last year, they were ridiculously bad. Nick Mullins last year threw 7 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Jaron Hall last year threw 0 touchdowns and 1 interception on 20 attempts. On 20 attempts, he completed 13 of them and threw an interception.
Yeah, that Week 17 game was brutal.
It was bad. And, of course, Dobbs is gone now. But he didn't play wonderful either. So, I mean, I just think quarterback's a big question right now. Kirk was playing at an MVP level to start the season and then tore his Achilles, and now he's gone. Shipped him out of here. So we'll see if Darnold and McCarthy are able to get it done, but both very, very unproven quarterbacks. Position number 10 is defensive line. Weakest position on this team.
Where do special teams rank in this?
Our special teams are pretty strong. I would say special teams are probably between receiver and running back at the 4 to 5 spot.
You're grouping it as a whole. Okay. Kicker itself is the biggest question mark in that entire
Kicker's
special.
a big question. But I think Will Reichert is going to do a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not an expert, so my word means nothing. But he did set the record for college football most points scored in a career. I feel like that has to mean something, right?
Means you played for a very good offense.
Means
And you
you
were
play
very
for a good
efficient.
offense, which we have. We have a good offense. But back to D-line. Jerry Tillery, Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Bullard. There's one guy on that list who is, quote-unquote, serviceable. Harrison Phillips. And he is not a nose tackle kind of guy. That's where he's playing. He's more of a 3 technique. 2-eye or a 3 technique. That's where he's best playing. He's been playing in a nose tackle position for the last year. And he did well there. He did okay. But that's not his best position. But we don't have anyone else to play the nose tackle other than maybe Jaquelin Roy, who also is in a pivotal year for him. Needs
his second year, isn't it?
I believe so. But this is a pivotal year for Roy. He needs to step up. He only had 3 tackles last year. He played 8 games. Yeah, he just needs to get something done. Needs to do something. But yeah, so there are my position group rankings. Matt, how did I do?
I think you speak for most Vikings fans going back through it. I think running back could maybe have been a little bit higher. I don't know. Potentially takes out over wide receiver. You're really ranking 2 guys, but at the same time, those are 2 very good receivers that can really, bolster any.
At the same time, those 2 guys can have 2,500 yards of production.
Exactly.
So,
no, I think you did a very good job, sir.
Cool beans.
I think our punter might be our best position, but no one asked me.
Long snapper, actually, I think, is our best position. Andrew DePaula, the only long snapper to make the Pro Bowl.
Big time.
Only long snapper, NFC or AFC, to make the Pro Bowl this last year.
I mean, in the Pro Bowl games, they have a whole event designated for him, the tic-tac-toe game.
It's just him. I think that we definitely have the best long snapper in the league.
We need to utilize that more.
We can say that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Matt, do you have any parting words?
No. Training camp's about to start soon, and just says, the NFL season will start. For any gamers out there, next Thursday is a huge day. For the first time in 11 years, we'll finally get college football. I'm almost ready to shed a tear. It's amazing.
Are you buying it, Matt?
Oh, I already have it pre-ordered.
So do I.
I was contemplating the MVP bundle with Madden, but I was like, no.
I think if I have college football, though, I'm not going to play Madden. And plus, I don't really want to play this year's Vikings. I know that sounds bad, but if I'm playing Madden, I want to play a fun Vikings team, right?
I want to rebuild the Gophers, man. I want to see the Gophers win a national championship.
Navy. I want to rebuild Navy and run the triple option to absolute, just oblivion. I just want to run the triple option and just destroy a team.
I'm making the U of M run triple option at that point. PJ Fleck, he's getting the boot right off the rip when I take over.
Navy, the Navy playbook with the U of M.
That's our strong suit, is running the football. We basically have Navy-type receivers.
True. You know what I think a lot of people are really excited for? Road to Glory, and they're going to make a man that goes by the name of Jackson Blaziken. Have you heard of this guy?
No.
Do you know the YouTuber Thad Boy?
I'm probably going to disappoint you when I say no.
That's fine. That's fine. He's kind of popular, but he made this YouTube series called 3-Star versus 5-Star, where he plays out a bunch of characters that are going through LSU, and it's like they're running backs or whatever. And this 3-Star is like way better than the 5-Star or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's you have to watch. It sounds dumb when you hear me say it. Just look up 3-Star versus 5-Star when we're done. Watch episode 1 and you'll be hooked. There's like 110 episodes.
Thad Boy, is that the account name?
Thad Boy, like THA. I gotta look at how many.
Like Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State, Thad?
But not like Thad Castle.
Well, obviously not the same mannerism.
THADDBOII. Thad Boy.
Oh, gosh.
You'll probably recognize him when you see him. But yeah, 3-Star versus 5-Star episode 1. And then just watch them all. I literally couldn't stop watching them. I think there's 107 episodes now.
Well, Joel gave us homework to watch the Receiver series before next week's episode.
Ooh, boring.
Yeah, Joel even stated like homework too. That's why it turned me off.
I know.
Just like, guys, are your assignments to do this? It's like, well, I wanted to watch it for fun, but now you're telling me I have to. It's not the same.
Now I don't want to do it. So, Joel, shut up. Don't tell us to do stuff like that. I'm kidding.
I'm just gonna find someone who did a Reddit review on the show so I can have the knowledge. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that happening. I remember when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Oh. But yes, college football coming out next week, 11 o'clock. You know where I'll be on my PlayStation.
Going to be a lot of Akron rebuilds. Going to be a lot of...
I'm rebuilding Blue Mountain State.
Blue Mountain State rebuilds. There's going to be a lot of people playing as Jackson Blaziken from LSU.
Jackson Blaziken. Thad Castle is my new head coach. Alex Moran as my offensive coordinator. And I do expect the servers to crash right away when the game releases.
Yep. A lot of people are going to be playing as Colorado, taking over Deion's job.
Yeah. Or Road to Glory accounts going to Colorado.
Yep. Yeah, I think Road to Glory, you can play quarterback, running back, wide receiver. I don't think you can play tight end. I might be mistaken.
You can't play tight end. You can play linebacker.
Linebacker and corner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can play safety or D-line.
It just ruins it. I wanted to be a kicker.
I bet you did, Matt. That would be your position. Do you know how boring that would get? 4 years of just kicking.
What do you mean? I can go to the NFL after my junior year. I can make it 3.
As a kicker, you're going to the NFL after your junior year. You're gonna have to be making like 80-yard field goals.
Maybe 60. Relax.
Wouldn't that be crazy if there was a kicker that can make an 80-yard field goal? Your range is your own 30.
What a weapon that would be too.
Oh my god, that would be a boot. Because you think I think a 60-yard field goal is a big field goal. That's a long one. There's not many that can hit 65. And then there's Justin Tucker who can hit 70 in practice or pre-game, but maybe you'll be the first kicker that kicks 80, 90 yards.
I will not lie. Sometimes I will send my kicker out to kick an 80-yard field goal on Madden.
Just because?
Just for giggles. And then they miss it. And it's like, what's wrong with you?
Does the other team ever try to return it?
No. And that's the best part. They don't even put returners back.
But then
you kick a 50-yarder at the end of the first half, they'll put a returner back there.
Yeah, I know. It's stupid.
But
I want to kick an 80-yarder at the end of the first half and just see if they'll return it.
I have to turn all the sliders up just to get to feel something.
Just to
witness the 80-yard field goal of how electric the call is going to be.
And he'll hit this from 80 yards. Brandon Gaudin would lose his mind.
Well, there's this new commentator teams on Madden, so it doesn't always have to be Brandon Godden.
It's not going to be Brandon Godden. And
you can choose between him. Mike Tirico will be in Madden 25.
So they're choosing to update the announcers and not the tackling. Dude, Madden 20. You have Madden 24?
Yes.
Tackling in Madden 24 is atrocious. It's disgustingly bad.
I don't know.
As a corner, if you're tackling anyone over the weight of 180 pounds, you can't unless
the animation just gives you an arm tackle.
Well, yeah, I know. And plus, hit sticks don't work anymore.
You just bounce off of them.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're telling me my 240-pound middle linebacker can't hit stick a 180-pound receiver?
But Fred Warner can jump 100 feet in the air. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so like both ends of the spectrum. Like interceptions are so easy.
You can't
as a quarterback, you can't throw it anywhere downfield.
Yeah.
Because it's getting picked if there is a receiver between you and there's a corner between you and the receiver, that ball's getting picked. Doesn't matter if it's 20 feet in the air, it's getting picked.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of people are excited for this layered passing in college football.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so excited for college football. I got to see some of it. You watched the video and the gameplay?
I did watch some of the deep dives. They did one today on Road to Glory. You can import your Road to Glory character into Madden.
That I'm excited. Does it have to be Madden 25 though? I hope not.
I think so.
I don't want to buy Madden 25.
See, that's where they get you.
Yeah. Oh well. I guess I'll just graduate my player.
I'll retire him after 4 years after he's a 4-time Heisman Trophy winner. Why didn't you go to the NFL? Studies, man. Like GPA can play a factor in your character. If you have a low GPA, you could potentially be suspended.
Yep.
I'm not sure there's no party feature. There's no Georgia football player scenario where you have to drive a car.
There were 2 Georgia football players that got arrested today.
Why am I not surprised by that?
Driving or something like that.
Reckless driving?
Reckless endangerment or something like that.
Some things just don't change with Kirby Smart.
He's not too smart for a guy.
He's a great football coach, but in terms of trying to mold together men,
he's
not a strong suit.
Yeah, I know.
Besides the point and besides that tangent, that is my parting word, is college football is coming out, and as you can tell, we are both very excited for this.
I'm so excited. I'm spending all day Friday playing.
I'm supposed to go to a Rocks game next Friday and do cameras. Might have to say no.
I'm sick.
I know. It's just I don't want to be there.
I don't want to be there. College football's out.
Yeah, boss. College football's out. I was like, okay, I understand.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, we'll just cancel the game.
Honestly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. I saw a couple of you popping in and out. So thank you guys for sticking with Matt and I these last two episodes that were just us.
Yep. Joel, I hope everything went well today and you're back next week.
And our thoughts are with the family of Khyree Jackson.
Absolutely.
After his tragic passing. So with that, and as always, SKOL Vikings. We'll see you guys next time.
That's not how Joel does it.
It was good enough. SKOL Vikings. There we go. Is that better, Matt?
Sure.
Okay.
Just because you like it.